I would rather take a sledgehammer to the head than let a man like this into my life. Not every single romance is like 600 pages. Can we calm down a bit? Hello, and welcome back to my channel. Today, we are going to be doing my April reading wrap up, and you can tell like I'm really excited, right? Because I'm finally out of the reading slump. So now I'm happy. And we're not only doing the wrap up, of course, we're going to do a TBR because I like to be delusional. I mean, why not? Being delusional is the best part of being a reader. And if you judge me, don't judge me. We're gonna be doing the wrap up, doing the ratings and everything. Obviously, one of these books I love since it pulled me out of the slump. And then we're gonna talk about my delusional TBR. And the thing is, like, there's actually a catch. So my TBR all depends on how much I read, because a few of these books I haven't purchased yet, but I'm only gonna allow myself to buy it if I read enough books. So it's kind of like a reward. So my TBR depends on how I act this month. Anyways, that's enough talking. Let's get into the video. Okay, so the first book I read this month was A Love Song for Ricky Wilde, and baby, this pulled me right out the slump. Immediately, the minute I started reading it, I said, oh, reading slump who? Where is she? I haven't seen her. This book I know is categorized as romance, I know, but I consider it so much more. This kind of to me felt like a historical fiction, but then you got the romance, and I know you're probably like, girl, that's a historical romance. No, it felt like something bigger than that. That's why I can't categorize it like, yes, technically a romance and not like a historical fiction, but no. It's a journey. You go on a journey with this story. So this book follows Ricky and the main guy. I can't remember his real name, but I remember his nickname was Breeze. So we're gonna call him Breeze for this. So Ricky, she is from a affluent family in Atlanta, I think. And basically she's like the family screw up. So she ends up moving away to New York to start her own life, accomplish her dreams, you know, what everyone wants to do. She ends up doing that. And when she's in New York, you know, she's meeting good people, you know, she's creating friendships. She's having hookups. She ain't really feeling up, but she's having hookups here and there, whatever. Basically, she's like, okay, you know, I'm starting my business. I'm doing what I gotta do. And then she ends up meeting this guy in the park one night. And I know that sounds scary, meeting the guy in the park at nighttime, but no. It was an instant connection, flames, fire, everything, immediately in love. But the thing is, the guy she ended up meeting in the park, Breeze, he's cursed. And because he's cursed, he's actually like a couple hundred years old because he can't. So because of his curse, I'm not gonna get into the full details of his curse, but he refuses to fall in love with Ricky because his curse could end up hurting her. But you know, like, come on, you know how this is gonna go. They end up falling for each other. And once love is like that, it's like that. You can't break it up. So now that they're in love, now that this dude is cursed and she's trying to start her life and trying to be good or whatever, they have to find a way to break the curse. That's the only way they can end up being together. But the only way to break the curse is to do something neither of them wants to do. So obviously you can feel the drama. And I know you're probably like, oh girl, I know how this is going to end. No, when I tell you I was in tears at the end of it, I was like, why am I crying? I remember because I was listening to it on audio. I was in the kitchen making myself an omelet. I had tears streaming down my face. I was like, really? Did this book just make me cry? And if you can't tell by now, it was 5 stars. But this just made Tia Williams an autobiography for me immediately. After this, anything she writes, I don't even care if it's her grocery list. Baby, I'm gonna buy it. Because A Love Song for Ricky Wilde, if this is on your TBR, or if you've been contemplating to add it to your TBR, read it immediately. Even if it's not on your TBR, add it right now. Like, come on now. This book was so good. Okay, then I ended up reading this book really quick. It was a novella. I think it was only like 60 pages, so I'm not gonna dive too deep into it, but I gave it 4 stars. And this is by the same author who wrote The House of Eve, and that is one of my favorite historical romances ever. So when I saw she had this little novella, and it's part of like, it's like one of those series where each book is written by different authors. If this was longer, do I think it would have been 5 stars? Most definitely, because the way it was written, it was beautiful. So it was basically about a girl who got pregnant prematurely, and this is like historical fiction, so it's back in the day. So her parents sent her away because, you know, basically that's like, it was like shameful for them. So they sent her away, and she went to this house where you give birth to the child and you have to give up the child, but she didn't want to give up her baby, so she ran away with the baby. And you basically see her trying to make it when she ran away with her baby and her family has abandoned her. So it's a really good story. Even though it's really short, I still recommend it, because if you just need a quick buffer book, or you need to get up on your reading goal, I recommend it. And I will be reading The Yellow Wife by her, because her writing, my gosh, maybe this is another autobiography for me. As you can tell, this is a really good reading month, because like, what's going on? Anyways, let's go to the next book. Then I read The Invisible Life of Addie. And now listen, I'm not gonna talk about this book too much because it was in my reading vlog. So you already saw my reactions to it. If you didn't, you need to watch that video, because You saw all the raw emotions. Anyways, I ended up reading this because you know I had like a love-hate relationship for this book. Like, it's been sitting on my shelf for like 2-3 years and I never wanted to read it. But the reason I read it is because after reading a love song for Ricky Wilde and seeing like the curse, I remember I was like, don't the girl Addie got a curse? And that's not a spoiler, it's literally on the back. So I was like, don't she got a curse? Why don't I just read that book next? Because now I'm in the mood to read about people with curses. This book, and let me just say, I put this book off for years because of the mixed reviews I heard. It doesn't matter what you hear about the book. If you want to read a book, read it for yourself. Test it out. I don't care if everyone is saying they rated it 1 star. You read it for yourself and you find out if it's really 1 star or if it's 5 stars to you. This book was amazing. It has my heart. Am I going to read every single V.E. Schwab book ever written? I just might. Okay, so this book follows Addie, and she's a couple hundred years old. Obviously, that's the theme of this video. She's a couple hundred years old because she made a deal with a very bad person and now she is cursed to live forever, but to be forgotten. So you can talk to her, you can have conversations with her, but as soon as you walk away, close the door, fall asleep, you don't know who that girl is. She's just staring at you and you're staring at her like, who the heck are you? She finally ends up meeting a guy who remembers her. And she's like, what? Is this a glitch? And the story kind of unfolds from there. But even before that, you get to see her living like 3 centuries before she even ends up meeting this guy. So you get to see her living through that. And I guess that's why people said it was like slow. But no, I feel like that added to the story. It made the story that much more lovable because you saw her for 3 centuries trying to figure out how to navigate life with this curse, trying to be remembered. That was her main thing. She just wanted to be remembered because she was cursed to be forgotten. This book, if you haven't read it yet, I recommend reading it. If you've read it, let's talk about it. Like, I need to talk about this book some more. Even like I can't let this book go. Do I think that it's gonna be one of my top 10 for the year? It just might. And so might this love song for Ricky Wilde. Both of those books are really good. Oh, if you can't tell by now, I rated this 5 stars. I keep forgetting to tell you the ratings because I just get so excited to talk about the books. Anyways, this was definitely 5 stars. Definitely love this, definitely recommend it, and I'm definitely going to read more books by V.E. Schwab. But The Invisible Life of Addie, this book hit. It did exactly what I needed it to do, and it just made me happy. I cried though. I cried at the end. If you watch the reading vlog, you'll see that. But yeah, it made me happy, but I did shed tears. But I love Addie. I just love this story all in all. It was amazing. Then I read Wild Love by O.C. Silver, and this is a spin-off series from the Chestnut Spring series. I only read the first 2 books in that series. This book was a cute, fun romance. Like, I didn't expect it to be 5 stars. I ended up giving this, honestly, I'm still a little confused about the rating. I don't know if I want to consider this 3.5 or 3.8, but you know what? I'm gonna give it 3.8 because my main problem with it was just that it was too long. I'm gonna need like romances like this to go back to being 350 pages. What happened to those days? Not every single romance is like 600 pages. Can we calm down a bit? This book was fine. It just dragged on about 100 pages too long. But this book follows Rosie and Ford. Ford is the brother of Willa, who is from book 2 of the Chestnut Spring series. Rosie is back in town because her life has crumbled and it's pretty stagnant. She has a boyfriend who she doesn't love. She has a job, but she ends up getting fired from that job because her boss is a douchebag. And then she ends up going back to her hometown where Ford is living now, and he's a billionaire. I know y'all love billionaire romances. He's a billionaire. So he lives there now. He's creating his own like music studio and stuff. But he's always been in love with Rosie. But he's never said anything. And the reason he never said anything, because his best friend West is Rosie's older brother. So a bit of a forbidden romance going on there. You know, we love it. Not only that, someone comes knocking at Ford's door. Apparently he has a daughter. But I mean, technically, it's his daughter, but technically it's not really his daughter. I don't know. Read the book. To me, it's kind of a gray area because it's not really his daughter, but it is his daughter. Anyways, so yeah, you get billionaire romance, a small town, single parent, and Ford, people think he's grumpy, but he's actually just shy. So yeah, you know, all those elements, it creates that certain type of small town romance, and that's what it gave me. It gave me that little comfort. I just wish it wasn't 450 pages. I wish it was like, honestly, like 350, then it would have been a solid like 4.5 for me. But I don't know, I feel like I'm back in my romance mood because I don't know, this book, it just gave me that little boost again. So if you know any romances that you think I'll like, I like romances based in Scotland or small town romances. Love a good grumpy sunshine. So if you have any recs for me, just let me know and I'll love to read them. Anyways, let's get on to the next book. I finally finished Disappearing Acts and I love the book. I love the book. I love Terry McMillan's writing. I love her storytelling. But when I tell you I hate this, man, when I tell you I hate this couple, this is the perfect example. You know that trend that was going around on TikTok where the girl was saying, women, do not let men ruin your life, because if you let them ruin your life, they will. And you saw everyone was like stitching the video and like saying how they had examples of men ruining their life. You want a perfect example of a man ruining your life? Disappearing acts. That's it. Like, I don't even know what else I can say about this book. Like, all I can say is, dear Lord, please never let me meet a man like this. And God forbid I do, please let me never let him ruin my life. I would rather take a sledgehammer to the head than let a man like this into my life. So this book follows Zora and Franklin, and Zora, she has her life together. She's doing what she got to do. You know, she's hustling. She's trying to follow and chase her dreams. And then Franklin, he's just bitter and mad at the world. He is taking every little thing that is wrong, and instead of saying, you know what, I'm going to try to make it what it is, I'm going to try to make it better for myself, he's just complaining. He's very lazy. He's married. That's not a spoiler. You find out in the first chapter. He's married. He got kids. You know, he's just estranged, and he's sitting there talking about women, saying, oh, women this, women that. Maybe you're the problem, Franklin. Maybe you're the problem. And it's just, he comes into Zora's life. He literally meets her when she's moving into her new place. She is starting a new, taking a new jump in her life. He meets her. Somehow he swindles his way into living with her within 2 weeks. I don't even know how he did that. He's a mastermind. Like, congratulations to him. Like, you're bitter, but you're pretty smart in order to swindle your way into this girl's life. But you can't swindle your way into a job? Did I forget to tell you he's unemployed? Anyways, like, it's just, I don't want to get into too much detail, but she just let this man this is the perfect example of letting love destroy you. If you want a book where you can just be angry, like, this book legit felt like Zora was my best friend, and I was like just screaming at her to get herself together, screaming at her to say, leave this man. But she was being hard-headed and she wouldn't listen. So she let this man just ruin her life. And honestly, I can't really say too much more about this book. It's just, she let him ruin her life. But I definitely recommend it, and I definitely want to read more by Terry McMillan because the emotions this book put me through, I haven't had a book do that in so long for me. And I think it's because she's like a 90s writer, right? So I think back in the day, they were writing on different levels. Like, not say writers these days aren't good, because they are, definitely. Like you just saw, I gave 2 books 5 stars. But it's something about those 90s writers. They were just messy. They were just airing it all out. They didn't care. So if you definitely want drama, if you definitely want angst, if you definitely want to smash your head into a brick wall every single time you read a new chapter, I definitely recommend Disappearing Acts. And I ended up giving it 4.5, by the way. So I really liked it. It made me angry, but angry in a good way. It was really good. I enjoyed it. And now, on to the TBR. Now, 3 of these books I do not actually own because they're new releases. Where they're not, from the time of me filming this, they're not really that new. But I haven't bought them yet because I'm technically on a book buying ban. And if I read at least 3 books this month, then I can go and buy those. So honestly, me getting to these 3 books is all dependent on how much I read. So the first book that I want to read for, what is next month? We're in April, May. Oh my gosh, we're in May already? Wow. So the first book on my May TBR is Just for the Summer by Addie Jimenez. I think I've pretty much read every single Addie Jimenez book except for The Friend Zone and Life's Too Short. I haven't read this one yet. I plan on reading it. I don't plan on reading The Friend Zone though, because I heard, like, I don't know, from like the description, it just didn't sound good to me for real. But yeah, I should probably read this one before. You know what? Let's add this to the dang on TBR too, because I should read this one before I buy another book by her, right? So we're actually gonna read Life's Too Short. Throwing that in there. I have no idea what this one's about, actually. But I think this is part of the series of the Happily Ever After playlist series. I read that book and I like it. And the thing I like about Addie Jimenez books, she creates real problems. Like, you know, in romances, the problems be like so far-fetched. It'd be like, oh my gosh, he wants to be a seaplane pilot, and I live in Canada and he lives in Wisconsin. I don't freaking know where seaplane pirates live. In Addie Jimenez books, her problems are so realistic and it just feels real. And that's what I love about her books. Is this one a small town? Hold on, let me read what this one's about. Oh. Wait, no, this sounds really good. Okay, so the main character, Vanessa, she's basically like an influencer. She's traveling the world and she lives every day to the fullest, right? But then her sister, her half-sister, ends up leaving her with her child. So now she's a single mom dealing with a baby. She don't know how to deal with a baby. But then her neighbor, who is a hot lawyer, as the back of the book says, he ends up being like the baby whisperer. He helps her and stuff, and then she ends up bonding with his dog and stuff. So I actually really do want to read this. So we're gonna read this one first. This is first on my plate. Not on my playlist. I was saying playlist because the word playlist is right there. But this is first on my TBR. And since I'm starting with this, I'm probably going to read Only for the Summer last. Because I don't want to read too many of the same author's books back to back. I personally just don't do that. I know some people do. Me personally, I don't. So yeah, those are two of the books on my TBR. We just added this one, so yeah. Then I finally want to read Giovannis Room. I've been saying this for the past 3 months. Literally, this book is under 200 pages. I could read this in one sitting, but I know I won't because, okay, this is like, I know this sounds so like, I don't know, pretentious or something, but I want to be like one of those people who just sit and like read a book and they're like this. I don't have my glasses on right now. If I had my glasses on, you would really see the vision. But I just want to be like this, like, and I want people to be like, looking at me like, ooh, who's that girl? Look at her, she's just reading. Like, let me just be reading in a coffee shop like this and someone be like, oh, what is she reading? And then they just see this, Giovannis Room. Like, okay, yes, I actually want to read it for the story and I actually want to read like a James Baldwin book because I heard that he's like an amazing author. But I do just want to read this to look really smart. So there's that, but I don't even know what this one's about. On the back it says, this novel is a unique, emotionally intense, and exceptionally beautiful, hypnotic, intimate, harrowing portrait of a man torn between a woman and another man, groundbreaking for its time, and it remains a transcendent novel. Maybe we might read that in one sitting, actually. That sounds like drama. Yeah, I definitely want to, and I want to practice annotating with this book because I really want to get into like annotating and just like making it cute because yeah, I know reading, you're just reading to read. You don't got to annotate stuff, but I want to because I want to romanticize my life. So why not? But yeah, Giovannis Room. And then this one's completely out of my comfort zone, completely. And I mean that like honestly and truly, if you've ever seen any of the books I've read, I've never read a book like this. Well, maybe. But this is considered high fantasy. I think the only high fantasy book I ever read was The Poppy War, and that was already a lot for me. I'm not even gonna lie to you. Half the time I was confused, but the story was really good. So this book is called When the Moon Hatched, and the only reason I want to read this one is because I've seen 2 booktubers that I've recently come across. They've talked about this book, and the way they talked about it was amazing. The first girl, she was like, she just loved it so much. And then the other girl, she was like in the midst of vlogging and she was reading and she was like, I know this is gonna be 5 stars. This is just so good, just so good. So now I'm just like, am I about to read a high fantasy book? And you know, the answer will be like, oh, if you're interested in it, just read it. But the problem is, this book is like 748 pages. You know, I already had trouble reading The Poppy War, which was only like 360 pages, and that was considered high fantasy. So what the heck am I doing with like 750 pages? I want to try and read it though because apparently this book is like really popular. The people I've seen talk about it, they made it seem like this is just such an amazing fantasy, and I want to get deeper into fantasy because every single time I read fantasy, I like it. So I may be a fantasy girly, but I may just be too scared to explore it. So I want to read When the Moon Hatched, and we're gonna get into our fantasy era. I know usually people save that for fall, but whatever. We get into our fantasy era in summer. And then we're going to read Hello Beautiful. I know I constantly talk about this book. I know I constantly say that I'm gonna read it, and I don't know why I'm stroking it, but that's what I'm doing. But this book, ever since I finished The Invisible Life of Addie, which was literally only like 10 days ago, I don't know why I'm saying ever since, but it made me think that I am back in my literary fiction mood. And yeah, The Invisible Life of Addie is like magic realism, historical fiction, like it's a bunch of stuff. This one is just like historical fiction as far as I know. But I don't know, whenever I read books like this, just like historical fiction or just like contemporary fiction, 9 times out of 10, it's gonna be 4.5 or above. And I want multiple 5 stars this month because first of all, having 2 5 stars last month, that has never happened to me. I usually only have 1 5-star a month, and I gotta be grateful for that, which I am because some people don't get any 5 stars. But I have never had 2 in a month, so now I'm like, you know what? Let me be more conscious. Let me be more self-aware of what I'm reading to make sure that I'm actually aiming to read quality work and not just stuff that I consider buffer books, you know? So I definitely think that this one's gonna be 5 stars. It's supposed to be like a retelling, not a retelling, but like it's supposed to be influenced by Little Women. Never read Little Women, never saw any of the movies, so I don't even know what that means. But from what I saw, it's about a girl who ends up dating this guy and she brings him home, and something about his past ends up destroying her relationship with her sisters. I don't know how you let that man... Well, let me not even say I don't know how you let that man destroy your relationship with your sister. We saw a disappearing acts. We saw how a man can destroy your life if you let him. So hey, I guess she did the same thing too. But yeah, I definitely want to read Hello Beautiful this month, and I think I definitely want to do this one in a reading vlog because I have a feeling this is gonna make me cry. I have a feeling this is gonna make me scream, and I think we should do that together, right? I don't want to do it alone. So yeah, Hello Beautiful. And then I want to read This Could Be Us by Kennedy Ryan. I read the first book of the series Before I Let Go. That book was very good. It was absolutely amazing. And okay, this is the thing about Kennedy Ryan books. Can I just tell you what one book is about before I start talking? And it's like I'm talking really fast. I know before I even take a breath, I'm on to the next stop, but whatever. So this is the thing I like about Kennedy Ryan books. Her, like the same thing I said about Abby Jimenez, her books, the problems with the relationships are so realistic. With Kennedy Ryan, it's the same thing. She makes realistic problems, and you really get to see the characters experience the pain, experience getting through it, and it just feels like you're literally glimpsing into someone's personal life. The way she writes romances, it's just beyond beautiful. I actually have no idea what this book's about. I just know that it's the second part in the series. They're like interconnected standalones, I'm pretty sure. So you don't gotta read the first one. But the minute I saw that this was released, I was like, it's on the TBR. I don't have to know what it's about. It's fine. I know that Kennedy Ryan wrote it, and that's enough for me. But I'm pretty sure that this is a romance from, maybe I actually should search up what it's about. Wait a minute. That should be me making you laugh. Okay, so this book is about, how do you say her name? I don't want to say it wrong. Soledad? Soleda? I think it's Soleda, I'm not sure. But we're gonna call her Soleda. I'm gonna have to find out the pronunciation. This is about Soleda, and she is basically like the fixer. She fixes everything. She plans everything. She makes sure everything's good. And already I'm seeing this being 4.5 or above because that, I already relate to that. And whenever I relate to a character in a book, amazing. So she's like the fixer, she's the planner, she makes sure everyone's good, but then tragedy strikes her life, but she feels like she doesn't have time to grieve. She gotta keep it pushing. She gotta make sure everything's good still. And then she ends up meeting this guy. And apparently he's like the forbidden guy. And she feels like she can't trust him because she lost it all once and she doesn't plan on losing it again. So this is a, would I consider that second chance romance? I don't know. I don't know if she already knows the guy. Not sure. But that already sounds good to me. So yeah, excited to read that, but I don't have the physical book yet, so we gotta wait to buy it. So sad. Anyways, excited to read another Kennedy Ryan book. I think this is gonna be my fourth Kennedy Ryan book. I want to read the Kingmaker series, but I don't know how I feel about that one because I've heard mixed reviews about that. And didn't I just say that you should read it for yourself instead of listening to other people? So I should probably read the Kingmaker series. Not this month. We're not, too many. We can't throw in too many romances because I want to explore outside of romance a bit. But yeah, This Could Be Us on the TBR. And this one is kind of like a maybe, if, and a but. It's not 100% certain, but I don't know. For some reason, I cannot let go of Emily Henry. The only Emily Henry book that I gave 5 stars was Book Lovers, and that's because I connected with Nora on a different level. Like I don't know, I connect with Nora heavy, and that's just the reason I love that book. All the other, like, I try to read Happy Place, I DNF, Beach Read, I hated, never read People We Made on Vacation. I have the book, haven't read it though. But I feel like this one could be 5 stars again. I feel it, I don't know. But if I don't like it, I'll just DNF. I have no problem DNFing. Y'all should know that by now. I have no problem DNFing. If I need I didn't DNF any books this month. That is actually the first time that's happened in a long time. Wow, I'm really out of the reading slump. Anyways, yeah, I have no problem DNF, and I walk away from a book if I'm not feeling it. So I want to try and read Funny Story, but if I don't read this month, it's not really a priority, but I just kind of want to, maybe, since I'm reading like these other releases by Abby Jimenez and Kennedy Ryan, why not just throw Emily Henry in there? But it's not a top priority, but if I get to it, I get to it. Why not? Okay, so that is everything that I read for the month of April. That is everything that I want to read for the month of May. Obviously, you know that TBR is not going to stick. I'm going to add some and I'm going to throw some out. You know that by now. But tell me what's the last 5-star book you read, because I need some more 5-star recs. And you know, if it's something you think I would like, please recommend it. Even if you think it's something I won't like, tell me still, because I want to expand my horizons. Like, why not? But thank you for watching this video. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and I'll see you next time.